Hey everybody, Icy Cat here. This time we're going to be talking about some game balancing changes that are either in development or coming to the game soon. Some of these impact specific operators or their weapons. Let's go over all the information next. So before I get into the meat of what this video is about, I want to say it has been a long time since I've actually done a video, several weeks, and that is because there has just been nothing happening for news in the game lately. And as primarily a news and information reporting channel, that's not given me a lot of content to work with. But today this information came out, so we have a new developer blog, this time regarding the way they're handling operator balancing and some other things. They say that this will give some insight into the designer notes that are going into the operator balancing, and we're going to take a look and break it down. Now this information did become available several hours ago. However, I wanted to kind of let it breathe because they were also doing a developer AMA where they were going to be talking about the impact and choices behind some of these decisions. By waiting a few hours, I'm able to give you a little bit more comprehensive picture about all of this information rather than doing two separate videos. So as we can see here, they're giving us the latest updated information regarding operator win-loss as it compares to how much they're picked, and that sort of gives them an idea for where these operators will sit on attack or defense to see if maybe a certain operator might be overbalanced or underbalanced and, who likes to be picked the most and kind of where they fall into things. And you can see some definite obvious ones. Your Tachanka is way down at the bottom of everything here pretty much, along with a few other people like Castle. Now in that grouping of those three lowest ones in the defender information, we have Clash. They're reducing the weapon swapping speed between the shield and the sidearm. They're also delaying before refill charge after usage ends, and it's increased from 2 seconds from 1 second. Furthermore, attackers will regain full mobility after a half second. This is down from the second and a half it was after being shocked previously. And they say they do recognize that Clash is currently not performing well in terms of the win delta, and these changes may lead people to believe that we are nerfing an already underpowered operator. They've made these changes to refocus Clash to fulfill the function she was originally intended to perform, and do not anticipate a major impact on general ranked usage or strength. The swapping speed change is more of a bug fix than a balancing change. We never intended for her swap speed to be that fast from a design standpoint. When players would immediately ADS, they would skip the equip animation for the sidearm and therefore significantly reduce the equip time. We also increase the amount of time it takes to put the shield on her back, further increasing the amount of time it takes to switch to a weapon. Our design intention is that she should be able to swap to a sidearm outside of a gunfight or behind cover, but not be as lethal as she is currently. The issue with the current state of the delay in the refill charge and the reduction in the amount of time it takes for attackers to regain full mobility is that it led to players being able to use her shock in short bursts to keep attackers slowed for too long. On the topic of regaining mobility more quickly, this will also allow attackers to move around a corner and escape without Clash being able to chase them down and continue shocking them. The goal of these changes is to lower frustration and further empower our attackers in their ability to manage encounters with Clash. Ultimately, we believe that this will further drive the idea that Clash is reliant on teammates as opposed to an operator that can exist completely independently. She is not intended to be able to hold half the map by herself and will now require the proper support from teammates to do so. The next operator getting a change is going to be Maestro. His ALDA 556 recoil is now brought into alignment with other LMGs. They say that with the ALDA, they took a unique approach to LMG hipfire recoil, whereas LMG would have reduced recoil the longer it sustained fire without using ADS. This led to confusion and did not play out in the way that they had thought it would. As such, they are removing this recoil style and will be aligning the ALDA hipfire recoil with how the recoil for the other LMGs act. Some other weapon changes that we will see will hit the SMG-11, which will now be reducing recoil to improve handling. They say that following the weapon sight misalignment that came with Operation Grim Sky, they saw that it had a significant impact on Smoke and Mira. As such, they are tweaking the recoil value on the SMG-11 to give Smoke a bit more viability when using this weapon. Later on in the developer AMA, they did reveal that part of kind of went behind this was they were trying to make it so that Smoke's SMG-11 wasn't being used as much as a primary. However, when you do that, you then wind up making it so that when you have the shotgun SMG-11 combo, it really makes it hard to be viable because the shotguns are already pretty nerfed for damage fall off. They're used more as a utility weapon for making holes in walls, and now if you're making it so that both weapons have been nerfed in some capacity, it's hard for him to have a really strong primary, so this is a bit of a counterbalance to what they did. The other machine pistols, they did say in the AMA that they like where they're at, so like the Bearing 9 and those other kinds of ones aren't going to be changing. Also, as we can see here, the Vector is having a slight improvement to the recoil handling as well. Then they go to some operators that aren't necessarily going to be changing right now, but are definitely something that they are working on at the moment. They say that Lian continues to be problematic for them at higher level play. We have a designer that is currently testing a pair of separate possible short-term solutions. One adjustment would remove the intel gathering aspect of his gadget, or they might go with the other, which will trigger more of a Jackal-style ping. This is still very early on in testing and production, and they will have more details to share once these changes have gone through some feedback sessions. So not something that's going to occur right away, but something that they're definitely taking a look at reworking. Then we see them working on something regarding Glaz. So they say that much like Lian, they're not happy with Glaz in his current state. They're trying to move away from his role as one of the best sight-pushing operators supported by his own smoke grenades. And they want to bring him closer to the original idea of a sniper, holding a line of sight with a high-powered rifle. This one is also early on in production, but a bit more promising. Much like the Lian change, they are going to be performing additional playtests internally with pro players and plan to share more details in a future test server or designer's notes entry as it draws closer to going live. So now let's go forward to the balancing AMA later on, where the developers shared some of the insights that went into some of the decisions that they make. So here we have a question regarding Fuse and seeing if he's going to be upgraded in the future because it's felt that maybe he's a little bit underpowered at high level play to the point where he's useless. The dev team responds by saying that they want to rework his gadget and we want to do a full pass at some point. It's very risky and not reliable to use his gadget most of the time. Also, his kit is not great at the moment and we want to change that. Now, it's interesting to see what they mean by his kit, whether they're talking about his secondary gadgets or his actual weapon loadout. I mean, this is an operator who has a lot of versatility between a decent rifle with the AK, an LMG with a lot of damage and high capacity ammo, or having the backup utility of using a shield with a pistol if you wanted to go that route. Maybe they feel like the problem actually lies not so much in the weapons, but with the secondary gadgets. So next up, we have a question regarding Lian. They ask, can you go into detail about why Lian hasn't simply had his ability reduced to just himself rather than a global ability? I feel that doing that would be a simple, relatively speaking, change that ultimately brings him more in line with a support role rather than a one-click-fits-all role he is now. The dev team responds by saying that the reason why is, yes, while it would be a nerf in practice, the frustration of facing him as a defender would be pretty much the same. Even if you knew that only one of the attackers can see you through the walls, would you try to move? The solution we are experimenting with Lian are meant to lower the frustration facing him and not simply weaken him. That sort of leads into a follow-up question then regarding Lian, where they talk about the cancer meta where you take a Lian and then you put it along with some kind of a Jackal, a Blitz, or a Dokkaebi combination. The dev team says what you're describing is problematic for them and they want to address it in the future. No idea what that means, but they are aware that it winds up giving a frustrating experience to the defensive team when they have multiple trackers going on them all at the same time. This question winds up bringing in a lot of different elements all at once. So the first question brings up how Finka is an extremely unpopular and now relatively weak operator, and have you considered any changes to her further down the line? They respond by saying, yeah, they do, but we're still exploring options. We've tried a couple of things that are not as impactful as we were hoping. The next question asks, why does Maverick destroy Evil Eye so quickly? Would you consider increasing Bandit Battery's damage range so that he gets zapped as he's torching a wall? They answer by saying that they're fine with that as it is, as the hard part of the process is actually to get to the Evil Eye. So they're saying that destroying the Evil Eyes so quickly is something that they don't mind seeing. They say that in regards to Bandit, they don't feel as though that would change that much, as he would take minimal damage if the batteries did damage him when he was close enough to a wall. The next question is following the community reaction regarding IQ losing her frag grenades. They asked if we've ever considered whether smoke grenades would be viable and reviewed the overall nerf decision. Would the smoke grenades make her too similar to Capitao? They respond by saying they're okay with IQ right now, but they're always looking into things like this. The next part of the question asks what do they believe has increased the win delta of Frost and Capcan. Frost's mechanical traps aren't affected by other operators other than those with explosives. Have offensive smoke grenades made her more effective, or is the community getting better at playing Frost? They respond by saying the win rate of Capcan and Frost has been fluctuating a lot over the season. They used to fluctuate from low to high in a season, so we're still taking a look at that. The final question is interesting because we were just talking about how they're already taking a look at Glaz, and here they want to know if they're considering removing Glaz's smoke grenades. You stated that you're trying to move away from his role as one of the best sight-pushing operators supported by his own smoke grenades. Along IQ losing her frags, I feel this would make another original operator unusable in solo queue, especially on console without headset. The devs respond by saying no, they still want Glaz to do his own thing, but we do have other changes in mind for Glaz that should put him into the role he was originally intended to be in. Finally, they mentioned that earlier a Thatcher rework or buff is on the way, and can we still expect that? They respond by saying, yes, you can expect it. It's a larger rework, so it will take some time as it impacts many systems, which is why it's taking so long. The focus behind that, they brought this up in the last season, was that they actually wanted to make Thatcher a little less binary. So rather than destroying gadgets with his EMP, he was going to begin disabling them, which is why you now see cameras being disabled instead of outright destroyed. The other side of what that's going to be, they mentioned were going to be some upcoming buffs, but we don't know what form those will take yet. There are a few other questions that were also answered in the AMA, and if you wanted to check that out for yourself, please do head on over to the developer AMA on the Reddit. I will post a link for that as well as the one for the developer blog down below, so you can check those out for yourself if you like. Now, if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe to make sure you stay up to date on the latest news and information for Rainbow Six. You can also reach me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.